Okay, I'm going to get started now. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the 5 languages of love and appreciation. I'm your host, Linda Catalan, and I welcome you all to this webinar series today. Anyway, I'm doing something a little different than I normally do. I figured in honor of Valentine's Day and February being the month of love, I thought it would be kind of fun to do a book review of two books, really written by the same author that I thought would be a lot of fun to kind of go through. So today I'm going to share that and thought you would enjoy that. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation, which I'll share in a moment. In fact, I'll get that up right now so that we can actually start to go through. Okay. So hopefully you can see the PowerPoint presentation. And if not, I'm happy to share that with you following our, let's see if I can do a split screen here. Okay, well, hopefully you guys can see this. In any case, I'm focusing on the 5 languages of love and appreciation today. As you can tell, I'm still getting used to Zoom as my mode of communication, having used instant teleseminar for such a long time. So stick with me, bear with me, be patient with me as I go through this learning curve. In any case, today we're focused on the 5 languages of love and appreciation. And as I alluded to earlier, there are two books really that I'm focused on, or that I've used as part of my foundation for the webinar today, and quite frankly for the articles that I wrote in the month of February. And the 2 books are The 5 Languages of Love by Gary Chapman, and I've indicated their website where you can go to get more information on the book. 5lovelanguages.com, and I've given you a picture of the image there of the book so that you can make sure that you get the right book if you're picking up the book. And then also the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. And the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace are written also by Gary Chapman and Paul White. And you can get more information on that book by going to appreciationatwork.com. And there I've shown an image of the book. So these 2 books really have been quite inspirational to me for a number of reasons. One is the similarities between the 2. I mean, often, I picked up both. Really, the Love Languages book by Gary Chapman, his earlier book, which was written, I guess, about 10 years ago now, was really key in terms of personal relationships, mostly from I'm going to say from a romantic relationship. And it's really become a book and a foundation for a lot of relationship building in terms of marriage, significant other, etc. In fact, I have a funny story in that when my son was a little younger, still pretty young, but a little younger and just starting out in terms of having relationships with girls, I had him read the 5 languages of love. And of course, once he was in a serious relationship, he also had his partner read the 5 languages of love. They're currently living together. But the interesting thing is that it really helped him look for different ways that he could show his love and affection in a relationship. So it was really instrumental for him. Quite frankly, it's been an instrumental book for a lot of clients that I've worked with as well, who maybe, are either going through a rough patch in their relationship or want to strengthen their relationship. And so it gives you some things to ponder in terms of how can I make the relationship stronger? What can I be doing to appreciate my partner in ways that they would want to be appreciated. So the book has been quite helpful in terms of working with clients on relationship issues. And you know, although I predominantly coach in the areas of career, people don't leave their personal lives at the front door when they walk into the office. And so oftentimes they're, you know, they whatever's going on in their personal life does affect their work life as well. And so that the five languages of love, the five love languages, has been really helpful in terms of helping people get their personal relationships sorted and, you know, operating at a higher level. The five languages of appreciation in the workplace has been a great book. I just actually read that this month. Having been a proponent of the five love languages, I thought, let's see how they apply this in the workplace. And I'm going to be sharing that with you in a moment. But the key is that people have different styles, different ways they like to be appreciated. And if as a leader or even as a colleague, as a team player, if you can figure out the appreciation style that someone really best works under, then you can build really strong relationships in the workplace, regardless of whether they're a direct report, a colleague, a peer, or even with your boss or senior leaders. So I encourage you to kind of look at through the lens of the five languages of appreciation in the workplace and see where you can maybe strengthen some relationships that you have in the workplace. Maybe they're not that strong, or maybe you'd want them to be stronger, or maybe they're cordial, but maybe they're not operating at an optimum level. These are little things that you can figure out about people, and really, you know, when you're appreciating someone in the way they want to be appreciated, it really does make the relationship stronger, makes the work environment stronger, and we'll get into some of the benefits of doing that. So those are the two books that I've used for the foundation of this month's webinar. So moving on, let's just look at the case for the five love languages. And certainly in terms of, you know, the five love languages, what we know to be true is that relationships grow better when we understand each other. You know, it's kind of common sense, and also, there's been a lot of research that indicates, you know, having that awareness about the other person, you know, increases our ability to communicate. And I would argue as well that something can be said as well to also have that understanding and awareness of yourself. So when you yourself know what your love language is, and when you know the triggers and you know who you are at your core, then it helps from a communication. You're able to better communicate that to your partner, but also you can identify where you and your partner are similar or different, and it really strengthens the relationship in terms of communication. So having that understanding of both your own, you know, what is your preferred love language, as well as what's the preferred love language of your partner, really helps in terms of the relationship. And, you know, the key being that everyone gives and receives love differently. So your love language and my love language, may be the same or maybe quite different. And so when you get that figured out, you can really enhance the relationship. And then here's the thing, that also translates into the workplace. You know, what we know from the research that was done, and actually in the book, and I'll just hold it up here, in the book, the five languages of appreciation in the workplace, they reference quite a few studies and quite a few statistics as well in terms of the case for introducing this in the workplace environment. So what we know to be true is that employee engagement goes up, when we are utilizing people's appreciation languages and we're personalizing it, customizing it. We know that engagement goes up. It goes without saying. In fact, there's strong evidence for that, really strong evidence for that. We also know that turnover goes down. So when people are more engaged in the workplace, they tend to want to stay there. And so employee engagement is a key indicator of job satisfaction. So what we know is that companies that have high levels of disengagement lose 51% more of their inventory than companies with a highly engaged workforce. We also know that business groups with more disengaged employees have 51% more turnover than business units with more engaged workers. We know that engaged employees average 27% fewer days missed than those who are highly disengaged. I could go on and on and on about the stats, but to summarize it, absenteeism goes down, productivity goes up, and bottom line profitability goes up. So, there was actually a study of, or I guess an analysis of 263 research studies, and this was looking at employers with the most engaged employees, and these companies were 22% more profitable than those with the least engaged employees. So we know that there is greater productivity. We know that companies in the top 25% of employee engaged companies average 18% higher productivity than companies in the bottom 25%. So the case is very clear. When we have a really good sense and understanding of how people like to be appreciated in the workforce, they perform better, they're happier, they stay longer, there's better productivity to the organization. So, we know that, for example, that managers, there's kind of a common belief that managers believe that employees leave for more money. And one thing that this book really kind of goes into is the case for it's often not about the money. It's, in fact, while the belief is, and something like 89% of managers actually believe that their employees are leaving them for more money, the reality is that only 12% report leaving for more money. Well, that's a huge disconnect. So then if they're not leaving for more money, what are they leaving for? And often what they're most citing is that they're leaving because they don't feel valued and appreciated. So being valued and appreciated is huge. And in an environment where, the average millennial, for example, stays on the job 18 months, in this kind of environment, it's an argument, a really strong argument for being able to appreciate people using their appreciation language. Okay, there's all kinds of other research, and certainly I'll leave it to you to kind of go through the book and read it over for yourself. But that's kind of the highlights in terms of some of the research points and really the strong evidence for for understanding people's appreciation languages, and not only understanding them, but actually appreciating them in the way that they would like to be appreciated. Okay, so let's look at the 5 languages of love and appreciation, because the 5 languages of love and appreciation, the 5 languages of love are the same as the 5 languages of appreciation. There's some slight variations, which I'll cover, but essentially the 5 are very consistent for both. Now, what I will say is that, you know, most people, you might have your primary love language may be the same as your primary appreciation language, but not necessarily. In fact, I took the test myself for both of these, the 5 languages of love and also the 5 languages of appreciation. And what I found to be true is my primary was the same for both. But my secondary and my least preferred were quite different for both of these in terms of how I want to be loved in a relationship versus how I want to be appreciated in the workplace. So yeah, I kind of encourage you. I'll share at the end how you can go about and do your own quiz so that you find out what your language of love is and your language of appreciation. But for now, let's just focus on the 5. And that is words of affirmation, which I'll go into in a little bit deeper, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So let's look at these and let's take a little deeper dive in each of these. So when we look at words of affirmation, and this one actually was my primary love language as well as my primary appreciation language. Now, interestingly enough, in the workplace, something like 45% of employees today have this as their primary love language or primary appreciation language. Well, that's pretty significant. What it also means is we kind of have this belief that, you know, we have to, let's say, give people monetary rewards, you know, either raises or kind of bonuses. And the reality is that very rarely is salary kind of a key motivator. And if, you know, understanding that and using some of these appreciation languages will help kind of move away from using monetary rewards as the primary reward. Now, having said that, people obviously want to be paid fairly. And, you know, when you ask most employees will, you know, believe that they're not being paid as much as they should be or could be. But people will tend not to generally leave because of that. They will leave for other reasons, as we said before. So in any case, words of affirmation in the workplace for sure, 45% of employees. So if you know, as a leader, as a manager, if you do nothing else but you use more words of affirmation as a primary form of communication or reward mechanism, then you will probably see stronger results with at least half of your employees. So definitely this is a strong indication that this is an area you want to pay attention to. So let's look at the love language first. You know, basically what this words of affirmation is people want to hear words. So they want to hear the verbal. So your partner, if they have this love language, they want to hear the words, I love you. They even more so, they want to hear how you love them or why you love them. So having reasons for why you love them makes it even stronger. It's like, wow, you know, like when, you know, my husband says, I love you because, I don't know, you're I'll just say so good to me, or you know, you take care of me, or whatever it is, that feels like a real big pat on the back. And so that really goes a long way. And then this particular love language, actions don't always speak louder than words. So the words are important, like actually saying, I appreciate you, or I appreciate what you did for me, or thank you so much, or that was really nice of you, or you look great in that outfit. Words really do make a difference. And the more unsolicited, the better. So, you know, if I get dressed in a nice outfit and and I come out and my husband says to me, wow, I really like how you look. That means more to me than if I come out and he says nothing, or worse, if I say to him, how do I look? And he says, good, then that just breaks my heart. So unsolicited compliments, really, really great way to affirm the individual. Being kind, encouraging, and using positive words, these are all ways in that you can express the love language of words of affirmation. And I have some examples there, which I just shared. In the workplace, the way you appreciate using the words of affirmation is, again, a lot of it is verbal praise. So people want to hear that they've done a good job, that you value and appreciate them. So they want to hear verbal praise with specific feedback. So that's even better. So not a general job well done, but thank you so much. That was a great job. I especially liked the fact that you used the data to stress the point. I'm using that as an example, but specific, praise for specific accomplishments, affirming the person's character or even personality traits. I really like how organized you were on that project. It really kept us on track. Using that kind of language really affirms the person. And this can be done one-on-one. So again, it's trying to understand, how does the person want to be, praised? Do they want the one-on-one, where the boss tells them, where their colleague tells them? Do they want it in front of other people? Do they want it in written format or in a public setting? So, where you have a meeting and you call someone out for a job well done. Well, all of those formats are possible ways to affirm someone, and changing it up, or even just, testing it out, asking the person is a way to kind of get the best way. So for me, actually getting a verbal praise is much better than, let's say, a written note of thanks. Although it's funny, I had a client who would always send the most lovely thank you notes. And we'd have let's say a great coaching session, or something specific perhaps that I helped her with. And then a few days later, a thank you note would show up in the mail, and she would be very specific about how I helped her and what I did, and that was always like so rewarding to get that note, the handwritten note in the mail versus a text message by email. Now, having said that, if you're working with a lot of millennials, they're used to that text and that shorter, kind of quicker response. So being able to do it by text or email where it's quick is probably a good way to affirm, especially some of the younger people in the workplace. Telling them, look, great job, thank you for doing X. I really appreciate you getting that client report completed so quickly. Thanks for being so diligent or staying on top of this project. So being able to do that, kind of the immediacy of it also is kind of an important practice. Yeah, so that's the words of affirmation. And if we go to looking at quality time, which is the second one, the quality time, if we look at it in terms of the love language, actually for both, it's really about that undivided attention. So, that active listening, if you're talking to me, I'm actively engaged in what you are saying. I'm not texting while I'm listening to you. I'm not watching TV while you're talking to me, but I'm giving you my undivided attention. So someone that has a love language of quality time, that's especially important. So spending time with your partner is really important. Sharing something together or doing something together, an activity, is really important. Listening and communicating, and again, I'm going to stress active listening, and open communication is really important. So, for example, maybe making dinner together, or having the TV off and talking while eating dinner together, or cleaning up together, or going for a walk together, or maybe it is watching TV together, watching the hockey game together, where maybe you're communicating in the intermissions. But having that time together, with undivided attention, is particularly important, for people that value quality time as their primary love language. Now, in the workplace, that is similar, and it may look a little different. So we are talking about focused attention, but in the workplace, it's focused attention from those that the person values. So, it would be, for example, it's not always the person's boss, but sometimes it is. So it may be having focused attention with their boss. It could be focused attention with a mentor, with a colleague that they value or see as a friend. So it's really that focused attention from the people that they most value spending time with. So that's really key. So, it's having quality conversation. It's, again, having that undivided attention. So things like having, shared experiences or teamwork. So being part of a team, where your opinions are valued, and you actually get to spend time, maybe, there's an interesting group of people that are kind of have been brought together, where they're sharing their knowledge and their experience, and you're working together to try to problem solve. So that kind of team environment would work really well for someone that has a quality time appreciation language. Or it could be, let's say, it could be having attention quality time with your manager, where your manager is coaching you one-on-one on a periodic basis. So if your manager sets up a schedule where they're going to meet with you once a week, let's say, or once every 2 weeks, and then the manager has to keep changing the scheduled meeting, well, then what that communicates to someone that has a quality time language is it communicates that whatever it is I'm canceling you for is more important than my time with you. So you have to be really careful about that, because if you recognize that this person values quality time, then you really have to do everything you can to protect that time slot with this individual. So again, if you're the manager or leader, and you have an employee that values quality time, then you want to make sure that you're giving them that focused attention. You want to make sure that you're able to do that. Now, what does that look like in the meeting? It's making sure that you've got eye contact, that you're actively listening, you're not on your cell phone, that you're observing their body language, that maybe you're affirming their feelings. And so that's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. Some examples that I just mentioned in terms of like one-on-one meetings, or participating on a team project, or even participating in social events, where there's an opportunity to interact with colleagues. So, it might be getting together after work, for a cup of coffee, or a cocktail. I don't know if people are doing that still. Or it could be like team events, where people are getting together after work to do, I don't know, a team event, like maybe working out together, or maybe a bowling night, or whatever it is that is important to the people in the work environment. But that kind of quality time is also important. So if your employee has that particular interest, then setting up an environment where people can get together in that way is really important. Maybe it's an informal networking that happens, or regular team meetings will also kind of satisfy that quality time. So those are just some examples of how to how to uh, how to action the quality time appreciation language. So let's move on to the next one. The next one being gifts. And interestingly enough, in the workplace, only 6% of employees choose tangible gifts as their primary language. And so this really kind of speaks to what I was saying before in terms of if we're our only method of rewarding people or gifting people in the workplace is monetarily, then that's not going to work for very long. So in the workplace, this is the least valued language. But for those that value gifts, it's important to pick a gift that they would actually value. And one of the things that we're learning, and that's becoming more, I guess, more top of mind, is because people, because we live and work in busy environments, time off is very much something that is valued. So, whether it's time off in terms of like days off, or maybe time off for personal appointments, or time off for to get your hair done, or maybe it's time off is something that's very much valued. So that's one example. If you're looking for, well, what can I gift them that they would value? Certainly it's found with younger employees, and actually of all ages nowadays, because people are so time constricted that when people are able to get some time off work, they do see that as valuable. Another example there would be like a sponsorship for a training or professional conference that might be of great interest to the individual. I use my own example there, and I don't have a high appreciation language for gifts, but I remember I had this one boss. This was way back when I was in the banking world as an executive, and I had a boss who really got that what I did value is I had a strong value of personal and professional development. Even now, I love to learn, and I'm always reading or taking courses, etc. And this particular boss really got that, that I really place a high value on personal professional development, and would periodically incentivize me if I did a job well done by paying for a course or a conference to something that I had an interest in. And so, I worked with her for 2 or 3 years, and during that period of time, I got some really interesting, got to do some interesting things, like do a course at Stanford University, where the company paid for my course and my accommodations, and I got to experience being out on the West Coast and do a great course, and learn this, and get certified in this particular course. I think it was negotiation skills or something of that nature. And so it was something that I truly valued, and so I saw it as a reward. So that would be an example of a tangible gift that really honored that appreciation language. In the area of love language, so on the personal side, if your partner has gifts as their love language, then you want to make sure that, like the partner thrives on, the love, the thoughtfulness, and the effort behind the gift. So really thinking about what would my partner most appreciate and value. And so picking the right gift is really important, because the act of giving tells your partner that you care enough about them to think about them and also choose a gift that's ideal for them. So it's not maybe, yes, it's okay to bring flowers, but bringing their favorite flowers is, better. Or if they've been, I don't know, searching for this rare edition of a book, and you find it and you gift them that. Or, something that's very personal or meaningful to them. The more meaningful and personal to them, that really shows that you thought it through, it will be that much more appreciated by the individual. Okay, so let's move on to the acts of service. And so in the love language, anything that eases the burden of the responsibility would be considered an act of service. So, one of the great ways of doing this, sometimes my friends refer to their honey-do list, but asking your partner for a list of things they'd like help with. Maybe it is a honey-do list, or a honey can-do list. But anything that kind of eases the burden of responsibility. I remember when my husband was going through a particularly busy time, in his career, and working a lot of hours and that type of thing. What I tried to do for him is to take the burden off in terms of personal. So I took on more of my share of chores and duties on the home front, so that he wouldn't be overburdened, in terms of work and home. And so that really helped him out, because it gave him more time to focus on what he had to do at work, and took a little bit of the pressure off on the home front. So that would be one way of easing the burden of responsibility. Other examples is breakfast in bed. I know, my husband he usually gets up earlier than me in the mornings. And if he knows that I'm going to get up around the same time as him, when he goes downstairs to get a cup of coffee, he always brings me a cup of coffee as well. So I may be, still in bed, but I'm just about to wake up, and there's my fresh cup of coffee sitting on the nightstand next to me. That act of service is really appreciated. So that's one example. Maybe walking the dog for your partner. Maybe, like I used the example of taking on added chores. Even just hearing the words, let me help you with that, or let me do that for you, is an act of service that is appreciated. In the workforce, in the workplace, the way this shows up is, people really like, especially if you have this appreciation language, people with this appreciation language really enjoy being asked to be helped out or supported. And so the key here is to ask them, is there something I can help you with? Don't assume that you know what they need help with, because that's important in the workplace. You want them to feel supported and helped, but not make them feel incompetent. So that's really key. So, ask them if they need help, and make sure that you do it their way. Ask them how they would like it done, because there's nothing worse. I have this pet peeve around the dishwasher, that I don't like the way anybody stacks my dishwasher except me. So sometimes if the kids are over and they load my dishwasher, I try not to do it in front of them, but when they're gone, I reload the dishwasher the way I like to do it. It's kind of a personal pet peeve, but in the workplace, if you're helping someone out, ask them how they would like it done. They'll value, especially if they value acts of service, that element is really important. And then the other thing is to complete what you started. So there's nothing worse than asking someone if they want your help and you start something, but then you don't finish it. So make sure if you're going to help someone out at work that you actually complete the task. Excuse me. So some examples might be like, let's say you offer to take a meeting for a colleague who's super busy. So attending a meeting and taking notes for a colleague. Or maybe you ask your boss if there's anything that you can take off their plate to help them. Those are just some examples of acts of service that make it easier, especially if you've got a colleague in the workplace. Maybe they are quite competent, but they're just drowning because it's tax time, or it's a busy time of year, it's year end, or whatever it is, and they could really use the support. And it could be a small gesture. It could be, do you want me to grab you lunch today? And I know you're having a hard time getting away from your desk. Is there something I can do, like get a cup of coffee for you, or lunch, or whatever? So any of those kinds of acts of service would be greatly appreciated by someone who has this appreciation language. Okay, so the last language is physical touch. Now, what I will say is, in the workplace, I would say use extreme caution here, because of course you have to be careful. Some physical touch can be contentious in the workplace, so use your discretion here. But some acceptable examples are, for example, a firm handshake for a job well done would be a form of physical touch if somebody has this appreciation language, where you could, safely use a high five for an accomplishment, or a fist pump, good job, or good effort, or whatever it is. Those are all acceptable ways that you can use physical touch for someone that values that language. In a relationship, if you have physical touch as your primary love language, then that touch is a form of calming you. It's a healing. It's reassuring. I know my son gives the best bear hugs, and whenever he hugs me, and a lot of people have said this, he instantly, by his energy, seems to calm. It's just such a healing hug. And so that can be very healing and calming for someone that has a love language of physical touch. Other examples could be like hand holding. If you're a couple and you're hand holding, you're going for a walk and you're hand holding. Hugs, hugs can be extremely important for a love language of physical touch. Maybe, pats on the back, maybe if your kid, maybe with your spouse, but also with your children or whatever, just, having that pat on the back, touching their arm or hand during conversation, you're making a point, or you're telling them how much you appreciate them, and you're touching their hand or arm during that is really important. Maybe even giving them a neck or back rub, a massage. Again, it's that physical touch that is maybe giving them a foot massage. That would be, or like a head massage even. Any of those ways of physical touch can be so comforting to someone who has a love language of physical touch. All right, so that kind of is a 360 360 degree summary, if you will, of the of the love language and the love and appreciation language. So the personal relationships and also the relationships in the workplace. Now, if you're curious about your own language, and for those of you, for anybody that's interested, but just to give you an idea, I actually completed, I did my own kind of assessment. I went on these websites, and because you can go and find out what your love language is, what your appreciation language is in the workplace. And so I did both. I thought it would be kind of fun to do both. And my love language, I had a number of them. My primary was words of affirmation, but my secondary, which was not far behind, was quality time, and then receiving gifts, physical touch, and last acts of service. So that's really important if you know that about your partner, and you encourage your partner maybe to also complete it, and then you can use that information. It's quite valuable, and it's an easy way to kind of make some changes to kind of up the relationship. Anyway, that was my love language. So if you want to find out what your love language is, go to www.5lovelanguages.com, and 5 is the figure 5, not the letters. So 5lovelanguages.com /profile /, and it will ask you a series of questions. It will have you complete some information, and it's completely free. So you'll get a mini report that kind of summarizes that for you. You'll have a better appreciation of what that is for yourself. Now, the appreciation language, you can get it free if you buy the book, which I did, because the book gives you a code, I guess, that you can get the assessment done for free. Otherwise, you can go straight to the website, mbainventory.com, and for a small fee, I believe it's something like $15. It's a pretty small fee. You can also complete the inventory and get your appreciation language in the workplace. And that's kind of cool, because it does share with you. It gives you kind of how you're motivated by appreciation. It gives you your primary, your secondary, and your least valued language of appreciation. The other thing that it does is it also gives an action checklist. So just to give you an example of what mine said, here are some items Linda endorses, those actions which will most clearly communicate a sense of appreciation to her. So it actually lists some things. So for example, it says, write me an email and acknowledge when I've done a good job. So you could, as a team exercise, have everybody on your team complete these. You can, use this to kind of get some shared knowledge. Anyway, there's different applications that you could use, but certainly for yourself, you can really get a good sense of what is important to you. Acknowledge my effort of a project in the presence of my teammates. So that's another action item. So there's a list of different ways, very specific ways that are a checklist of ways that somebody could appreciate me, let's say, as an example. And so this is something that could be very useful in the workforce. Anyway, so that's again, you can get it free if you buy the book. The code is in the back of the book, or you can go straight to the website. It's the same website, mbainventory.com, for the appreciation language, and see. And what I found is my primary was the same in both. My primary was the same in both. My secondary was different in the workplace than it was in my personal relationships. So there are some, differences. The way I guess I show up at work is a bit different than the way I show up with my spouse. who I have been married to for almost 40 years. So I guess something's working. And also I was in the same career for 26 years in banking and now 15 years actually as a coach. So something's going right, I guess. And so take a look at these and fill it out for yourself. Now, I just want to kind of end the conversation with maybe you need a coach. And so maybe as you're going through this material, you're thinking, I'm interested in ways that our team can increase appreciation in the workplace. And if you are, then certainly I can help you there. We can definitely talk about not only this tool, but other tools as well in terms of teamwork, team development. Maybe you're curious about how you can better appreciate your employees and colleagues as a manager or leader. Excuse me. So definitely from a leadership development, manager development, there's a number of areas that I can help you with there. And coaching can be a great tool for that. Or maybe you want to accelerate your career through personal and professional development. This is one tool for personal and professional development. And of course, there's a whole toolkit and so many other things that you can do and we can work on together to accelerate your career, to increase your personal professional development, to make you a better candidate, a better leader, manager, etc. So definitely coaching coaching would be a great tool for that as well. So just wanted to let you know that I'm currently taking on new clients. And so if you're thinking about coaching and would like to think about coaching with me, I invite you to schedule a no obligation. This is completely complimentary, a 30-minute complimentary consultation where we talk about your issues, your objectives, what you're trying to achieve. And then, you know, I either direct you to some solutions, some options, or discuss how we can work together on that. And I have a time trade. You can book directly an appointment with me. You can go to my my.timetrade.com/book/capital F, capital X, number 6, capital Z, capital Q, and look for an appointment time that works for you. And it would be my pleasure and honor to spend 30 minutes with you talking about how you can best be supported in achieving your goals and your objectives. I want to thank you for being on the call today. I want to thank you for listening to what I had to say, for gaining an appreciation of the 5 love languages. And I just want to say I hope you have a great month and day, and I look forward to bringing you more information, more tools, and things to help you increase and become a better version of yourself and be a better leader, manager, etc. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for being on the call with me today, and I look forward to our next webinar. Have a great day. Bye for now.